So Cheryl Reeve has finally had to admit it. She has finally had to admit it. And who would have thought she was actually going to say it? After being asked about how many about her fans being there and a lot of Indiana Fever fans, she said she couldn't give two SH1Ts yesterday. But now, after the game, obviously, she then went and said the right thing. She then went and completely said the right thing and pointed out the obvious when it comes to the draw that is Caitlin Clark. And we all know, look, Cheryl Reeve has not been a fan of the Caitlin Mania. She has not been in any way a fan of the Caitlin Clark Mania. Look, a lot of people are like, oh, these people hate Caitlin Clark. I don't think there's any real WNBA players that hate Caitlin Clark the person. There is no, people that hate. They just hate the Caitlin Clark Mania. And it's not even hating Caitlin Clark the fans at this stage. Because if you hated Caitlin Clark the fans, you would attack the fans and not attack Caitlin Clark the person. The vast majority of people that say they hate Caitlin Clark's fans are just going to attack Caitlin Clark the person. Because that is not the case. It is they hate the Caitlin Clark Mania. That's what it is. And it's the reason why you're seeing a lot of neutrals turn on Angel Reese, the better Angel Reese is playing. Because the Caitlin Clark Mania, a lot of the time, originally, a lot of the anti-Caitlin Clark people, and these are not even Angel Reese fans, these are just the we hate Caitlin Clark fans, they began pushing Reese because they were like, no, she's actually better. And now that Reese has been unbelievable as well, and she's the second most hyped player in the league, it's now, Angel Reese is now starting to get some of the hate that Caitlin Clark has been getting. So that is that's one of the things I just find really, really interesting about the whole thing. And before we get on to it, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit, if we can hit 22.5k by the end of the day, it's insane. Our goal was 20k by the WNBA break, by the All-Star break. We might hit 25k. That is wild. We might actually hit 25k subs. But anyway, yeah, this is... Look, I'm just going to say this right now. Cheryl Reeve is a really good basketball coach. She is a really, really good basketball coach. And this was the revenge game. That was the revenge game for Caitlin Clark. And that's the big thing, is that a lot of the time, people were, when people were talking about Caitlin Clark and the Olympic team, people were talking about Caitlin Clark before that and being like, look, she doesn't show up in fourth quarters. And then she had her worst game through three quarters. She was terrible through three quarters. And then she goes and has one of her best fourth quarters and wins. And then, to stick it to Cheryl Reeve right here, you can see right after the game ends, or basically the game is ended. And this is after Cheryl Reeve saying she doesn't give two SH1Ts about the crowd being for Indiana. And then also, I know it wasn't the case, but the commentators, Monica McNutt was talking about how there's more, there's a few Indiana fans, people are here to see the Lynx. When in reality, a lot of Lynx fans were there. You could hear them chanting for defense. You could hear the same, I think it was the same fans chanting for both. I think there were a lot of Iowa Lynx fans that were both cheering for Caitlin Clark and cheering for the Lynx. I think that was the reality of what happened. Is they were cheering for Caitlin Clark's individual, and they were cheering for Lynx the team, and they couldn't care less who won that game. They were just there to watch the game. But you can see Caitlin Clark walking down, hyping up the away crowd, and getting a standing ovation from the away crowd. That is something we will never, we may never see in sport again. This is a complete phenomenon. I've said it. For bringing people into the sport of basketball, in my lifetime, look, I don't remember Jordan. Jordan probably had a similar impact. Jordan almost certainly did. I'm too young to remember Michael Jordan. So, LeBron didn't do it. Look, LeBron was the best player in the world for so long. But, the way people are, there was no LeBron tour where you would have 5,000 people normally at a game. And then when LeBron was there, you would have 20,000. It was just, the NBA was the NBA. There have been two tours where I've seen like this in my lifetime in the sport of basketball. It has been the Caitlin Clark tour and the Stephen Curry tour from 2015 to 2017. It was that. It is where people are showing up an hour before tip-offs just to watch her warm up. People are just in awe of watching Caitlin Clark. People are traveling from all around the world just to watch this one player. And it's not about watching a team. It's not about watching a game. It's no, people are going out of their way just for this one player. People that would not normally be watching. It's very rare that somebody that would never normally watch a basketball game would have said as a rookie LeBron, oh, I'm going to go, I need to see this LeBron kid. As great as LeBron was. Look, LeBron's one of the greatest rookies ever. I think Wemby doesn't have that hype. Like, for me anyway, I think a lot of people were going to France to watch Wemby. I think in Europe there was the Wemby hype, mainly because his team played in like in a 4,000 or 5,000 seater stadium. But like, I got tickets to Wemby's last ever game, and it was like in Roland Garros, which was wild. But for me it was that. But like, I would be considering flying to America to see Caitlin Clark play. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that I have obligations, like if they make the playoffs, there is a chance that I will go to a playoff game for Indiana. There is an absolute chance that I will go to an Indiana Fever playoff game, because I just have obligations. Actually, no, I won't. Like, my season has started for coaching at that stage, and I can't miss anything. So I probably won't. But if she was playing the Olympics, I'd be there. I would 100% be there. I'd find a way to get to see Team USA in the Olympics. And it says everyone knows the reasons the league are having sellouts are because Caitlin Clark and the Fever are coming to town. And fair play to her for saying it. Fair play to her for saying what everyone knows. And look, the rest of the league is benefiting this. The rest of the league is benefiting this from this as well. Because if you're, like, I was looking at some things. I think it was like a Dallas versus Dream game was more viewed than any game last season that wasn't the Aces or Liberty, from the Aces or Liberty. It was crazy. So, like, you are seeing every player, every team get more recognized. The person who should be most hyped about the growth of the WNBA is A'ja Wilson, because she is having the best individual season ever. And she is, like, when there is, like, world famous, there is, like, famous, which she was. She was very famous. She is now world famous. She is now one of the more famous, not one of the most famous, one of the more famous athletes in the world. People are coming in for Caitlin Clark. People are staying and hyping up A'ja Wilson. One player that you'd feel kind of bad about is Breanna Stewart, because as good as Breanna Stewart is, she's not having the season of her lifetime. So all the hype's going to A'ja Wilson. But if this was last year, when Breanna Stewart was the MVP, dropping 45 on the regular, Breanna Stewart would be getting the hype. But it is great the league's hyped, and it's crazy that Cheryl Reeve actually admitted it. Like, that is the most shocking thing. The Cheryl Reeve, of all people, actually admitted that the league is growing because of Caitlin Clark. Because you know who won't say the league is growing because of Caitlin Clark and the Fever? Her own GM. Her own GM, and I can guarantee you, in the GM survey, Lynn Dunn was the person who said Aaliyah Boston, and if you could start a franchise from scratch, who would you take? And she was the one who said Aaliyah Boston instead of Caitlin Clark. I can guarantee you that. But anyway, that is the video. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys surprised by this? Because I sure as hell am. I think this is a crazy old take, but I think it is 100% truth. I think it's hard to argue any other way. So that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.